Yo, what's going on, guys? And of course, we got to do the Milwaukee Bucks season predictions. I really think their season hinges on the health and durability of this team. I really do believe as long as Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard can be on the floor, I think he'll be fine. I mean, obviously, I don't think Doc Rivers is that great of a coach, but they have such good players that it should be fine. I also think Chris Middleton, even if Chris Middleton isn't the guy that he used to be, I think Chris Middleton can still be a contributor. I mean, we saw it at the end of the season, like he started to get his feng shui back. So before we start today's video, I want to hear, in your opinion, your thoughts. What are your season prediction for the year? I think this team is going to be able to go ahead and be championship contenders. I think anything less than a conference finals appearance is a disappointment, in my opinion. And I want to hear if you guys agree with me on that. I just think this team has too much talent to do it. And plus, everyone's getting older, so I think there's kind of like that sense of urgency when it comes to trying to capitalize on the team. So the Milwaukee Bucks are undoubtedly contenders, obviously due to the fact that Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo are both two guys that I really do believe just being on the same roster, regardless that the coach is Doc Rivers, makes them championship contenders. Obviously, there's significant concerns whether, they have the durability for a deep playoff path. While Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo gives the Milwaukee Bucks two of the league's top talents, questions about the rest of the roster's injury risks, age, and the competency of head coach Doc Rivers is something that looms large. Now, Damian Lillard is 34 and has missed 77 games over the past two seasons and set out games 5 and 6 in last year's playoffs. Chris Middleton, another key piece, has also struggled with injuries, missing 76 games in the last two seasons and undergoing surgery on both ankles this offseason. Even Giannis Antetokounmpo, who typically is more durable, dealt with a calf injury that kept him out of the playoffs. While they might be able to stay relatively healthy through the regular season, relying on that trio through the playoffs is a gamble. And that's before we even talk about Doc Rivers, if he's adjusted today's game, or the reputation that Doc Rivers is a regular season coach. His history in the playoffs, even though he won a championship, is a disappointment since winning that championship. After taking over midseason last year and posting a 17-9 record, he faced criticism for struggling to implement his system. Without a full offseason or his preferred coaching staff, now with a full training camp and his staff of his choosing in place, Doc Rivers has no excuses. But the bigger question remains, has he adapted to the modern style of play? Can he craft a similar system to Mike Budenholzer that seemed to benefit both the Bucks' offense and defensive strengths? And can he fix where they faltered last year? Now, Milwaukee had a relatively quiet offseason as they added some athleticism with A.J. Johnson and Tyler Smith through the draft, but they're unlikely to be key contributors. And Taurean Prince was a solid move. I think that's something, and so was Gary Trent Jr. But is this team built to go on a deep playoff run or not? That's the question. And I think if they don't have a solid year where you can say, okay, without a doubt, this is a good team, they're going to have to make some changes. Now, what do I think's going to happen? I think Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, I've always wanted Damian Lillard to win an MVP. I think that ship has sailed, but if there was like a dark horse year, it would be this season. Relatively, what I think's going to happen is I think hopefully Doc does a good job coaching, and I think we'll see maybe changing in the guard with younger guys like Chris Livingston, Andre Jackson, Marjon Beauchamp, AJ Green, obviously Gary Trent Jr., and Taurean Prince, and Bobby Portis all play bigger roles and start to take some minutes from Brook Lopez and from Chris Middleton. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide, hey, maybe we start Taurean Prince and Gary Trent Jr., and then I get Giannis Antetokounmpo Brook Lopez and Damian Lillard. And then off the bench, we have Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis. And they also brought in, I thought personally, DeLon Wright coming in, who I thought does give a pretty good backup guard who can play both the 1 and 2. So for me, and supposedly they drafted A.J. Johnson because he has star potential. I think they're a bit higher on him than I was. I do think he's a guy who's going to be better than what people think he is. But I had closer to second round grade on him, late first. I think, again, this is going to be a team that is going to compete with the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks as the best team in the East. I do believe they should be a top 4 seed. There are a lot of circumstances, but I really think that if they are able to figure out how to stay healthy, how to figure out if Chris Middleton isn't shot, or if he is shot and then they figure out how to use him, I think it's fine. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a team that does okay, like they're a top 6 seed in the East, and then as we approach the trade deadline, they go out and make a big move. In my mind, I could see this weird scenario where it seems like CJ McCollum is somebody that the Pelicans really like. But let's say if the CJ DeJounte Murray fit doesn't work and they wanted to move CJ, and they could find a deal for Chris Middleton going to a third team. In this example, let's maybe think either Jeremy Grant Jeremy Grant would be the guy, I'd assume, gets sent to the New Orleans Pelicans. Then you send Chris Middleton to the Blazers, and the Bucks get CJ McCollum. You'd assume that not many picks have to be going around. Maybe the only people really getting picks is the Blazers for taking on the contract. And you bring back that guard duo together. Because I think CJ still has a few years under his belt, and his best years have always been with big boy Mr. Damian Lillard. And I could also see a move where I think Brook Lopez is fine, but either if they want to commit long-term to Bobby Portis and they want to move off of Brook Lopez before his value goes down, they flip Brook for, a big that's like Jakob Poeltl or something like that. Again, these are just deals I'm just throwing out of my ass, but you get what I'm saying? Just improve the roster through stuff. I could really, really see that this is just going to be a very pivotal year for the roster, regardless of the outcome, because I think through the season, or whatever the results are in next offseason, you're going to see changes around Damian Lillard and Giannis, because the rest of the roster's old. So I think this is a pivotal season that it's championship or bust, but it's also who's still worth keeping on this team. That's it. Let me hear your thoughts.